Hello, everybody. We are going to take a moment now to talk about survey designs. In our survey designs, we are not necessarily doing something that would require us to fall into those categories of experimental and correlational designs, but think of it more as a way of collecting data. So, experimental designs, we didn't really talk about. There weren't specific ways that we talked about data collection. It was more about the type of question that we asked, looking at cause and effect, and looking at is there a difference between two groups. Correlations also looked at a particular type of research question. Is there a relationship between two or more variables, rather than cause and effect? Both of those are going to come with their own types of statistical procedures. So you don't need to know them for this course, but if you've taken stats already or when you take it in the future, experimental designs are going to use things like ANOVA and t-test, where you're looking for the differences between groups. Correlations are going to use correlation type tests, so a Pearson correlation, or if you're getting more advanced, something like a regression. Survey designs, on the other hand, don't necessarily have a particular type of question. They're really about using a survey to collect data. The type of data that you could collect could fall into different categories. Maybe you collect something that could be run using some experimental type statistical analyses where you're looking at differences between groups, or maybe you're running a correlation with that data. So an example would be if I wanted to know, is there a relationship between the number of hours that students spend studying and the number and the score that they get on their exam? I could send you all a survey after you take the exam where I ask you to tell me what your test grade was, and then another question on there where I ask you how many hours did you study, and then you compute all of that for me. You give me that information and I can run a correlation on it. So it's a correlation. It's nothing different from the other correlations that we talked about, but a survey is how I'm collecting that data. The reason we're going to focus on surveys in this class and looking at what some of the issues are with surveys is because they are so common in social science research. They are probably the most used way of collecting data in community health, and they're also pretty common in education. Out of all of the types of quantitative designs that we've done, it's the one that students tend to have the most connection to, right? You've seen the survey at the bottom of your Starbucks receipt, or maybe a Walmart or a Target receipt, where they tell you to, kind of rate your experience at Starbucks or Walmart or wherever it is that you've gone. You've seen surveys, those little things whenever you walk out of, I think the Birmingham airport was doing this for a while, where there was this little, like, plastic thing with little faces on it. There was like a sad face, and then an okay face, and then like a super happy face. And you were supposed to hit the button for the face of, rating your experience that day in the airport. And I think it might have specifically been about like how you viewed the bathroom or something. I don't know. It was kind of silly. But again, that would all qualify as a survey. So you've done surveys tons of times. The IDEA course evaluation that you do is essentially a survey. So all of those things are survey designs where they're very common. We're very familiar with them. But with that comes some issues that are specific to survey designs. When experimental designs, we talked about measuring our participants ourselves. Like we could, have them weigh in at the beginning, and we can count how many of our, workshops or whatever they went to, whatever our treatment was. We measured that ourselves. Whenever we were doing in correlations, maybe we're doing a correlation between the average price of a home in an area and how much money goes to that school or something like that. That's all data that I can collect without having to talk to people. When we're doing survey designs, we run into the issue of we're asking people to give us the data. We're asking them to essentially measure themselves and share that information with us. And so they would be self-reporting, which comes with some limitations. So those limitations are what I'm going to talk about in the next video. But I did want to do a little introductory video to what survey designs were, how they survey compare and contrast with the previous designs that we talked about. And I definitely wanted to make sure that everybody understood that survey designs are about data collection and how we handle the data and how we develop the survey. They're more about that than they are about other things, because we could put qualitative questions and quantitative questions in a survey. So it's not a strictly quantitative term. However, quantitative designs tend to rely on survey more than qualitative designs do. So in the next video, I'll break that down a little bit for you. If you have any questions, let me know. And if this is something that you're interested in doing for a dissertation, I would like to shamelessly plug at this moment. We offer in EPR, I teach a fully online course in the summer, EPR 695, which is all about survey designs, and it's more of what we're going to talk about this week. But if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys online.